Who doesn't want to retire early? By retiring, I don't mean sitting at home and doing nothing. I mean stop doing current job and pursuing your passions without worrying about money. You can find a lot of stuff on this idea of retiring early, but one of the most popular among them is FIRE movement. FIRE is an acronym for Financial Independence Retire Early. As its name suggests, this movement is all about achieving financial independence and hence retiring earlier. Hello and welcome to ET Money's YouTube channel. But before we talk about FIRE, a quick reminder. You are watching this video on ET Money's English YouTube channel. We also have a Hindi channel जहाँ पे आप ये videos हिंदी में देख सकते हैं. And if you're someone or you know someone who wants to understand the basics of managing and growing money in an interesting way, we have a channel called 5 Minute Finance where we cover everything in just under 5 minutes. Now let's get back to the FIRE movement. Now this is not the first video we have done on FIRE movement. We have done one earlier as well, and you can find its link in the description to know more about the basics of the FIRE strategy. So how different is this video? Well, in this video, we will specifically talk about how you can put the FIRE strategy to work. Now this video broadly has 3 sections. First, a short introduction to the FIRE movement. Second, most information available about FIRE is in context to the US, where the idea originated. In the second section of this video, we will talk about how you can implement it in India. We even have an interesting calculator that we prepared which will simplify your calculations. Third, early retirement could involve many compromises. So in the final section, we will talk about your options if you cannot follow the principles of the FIRE movement in its original form. So let's fire up our discussion by knowing a few important things about the FIRE movement. The FIRE movement is inspired by a book titled Your Money or Your Life. It has 3 pillars. Number 1, save 50 to 70% of your income. Number 2, live frugally. And number 3, invest wisely, preferably in low-cost index funds. So FIRE is about having not just a high, but a very high saving rate. To achieve this, you must live frugally and plan your expenses carefully. Then you need to invest the savings wisely. But why does investing in index funds matter? So that you don't make investment-related mistakes that can destroy your savings. So these are the various elements of the FIRE strategy. Put simply, you raise your savings level by living frugally and invest that money in low-cost index funds. But the first step in retirement planning is to understand how much money you need to accumulate before you retire. For that, you need to ask yourself one question. How much income do you need for early retirement based on your lifestyle? To answer the first question, many people pursuing the FIRE movement use the rule of 25. It means that your retirement corpus should be at least 25 times of your first year expenses post-retirement. For example, if your first year expenses post-retirement are 12 lakh, that is 1 lakh a month, then your retirement corpus should be 25 times of that amount, that is 3 crore. This rule is also called the 4% rule. It is just another way to look at the rule of 25. If you have accumulated 3 crores and can withdraw only 4% from it, you will get 12 lakh in the first year. But this 4% rule has a big problem. These numbers and data are based on the US stocks and bond data. So we wanted to figure out, does this thumb rule work in the Indian context? But before we get into finding that out, one thing that you must do if you want to be eventually financially free is to remove the worry of you meeting your goals. You can do so by securing them by getting a term insurance. Now on the ET Money app, we have handpicked term plans you can get for as low as 987 rupees per month for 1 crore cover. And if you have any question, you can also schedule a free, no obligation call with our insurance experts. Now let's continue. The 4% rule was devised by William P. Bengen, a financial planner. It's also called the Bengen rule after its proponent's name. He regularly encountered the challenge of calculating the retirement corpus that his clients needed. So he ran simulations for multiple retirement portfolios starting in 1926. He allocated 50% of the retirement portfolio to large cap equities and 50% to bonds, and the portfolios were rebalanced annually. It was assumed that withdrawals were made at the end of the year. Now, since this study was done in 1993, he used actual US market returns from 1926 through 1992. And for years beginning in 1993, he assumed a 10.3% return on stocks and a 5.2% return on bonds. Once all the inputs were there, he ran the simulations for multiple withdrawal rates and found that 4% was the sweet spot. When the withdrawal rate was taken at 4%, most portfolio lasted at least 30 years, and in many cases they remained intact even for 50 years. And this is how the 4% withdrawal rule became very popular, and many financial planners started using the model to design retirement plans for their clients. The point to be noted here is that the underlying calculations were done based on certain assumptions and in the context of the US economy. The inflation rate in the US has been much lower as compared to that in India. Also, if you want to retire early, say at the age of 40 years, then a portfolio that lasts for 30 years may not be enough, as it will see you through only until 70 years. All this means that the 4% withdrawal rule may not work in the Indian context. So the next question is, what works? How much corpus should one accumulate then, and how much can you withdraw? Unfortunately, there is no straightforward answer to the question. You will need to calculate it based on your requirements. For this, you will need some basic assumptions. First, after how many years do you want to retire? Second, your life expectancy. Then you will need to figure out how your monthly expenses will grow based on inflation. All this will tell you the corpus you need to retire. Based on that corpus, you will need to plan your investments today. We understand that this sounds tedious, so we prepared a calculator to help you with these numbers. You can find its link in the video's description. Let us give you an example of how this calculator works. It's as simple as 1, 2, 3. You just need to put some basic details in the green cells of the calculator. Once you have keyed in these details, the calculator will tell you if your corpus will be enough to sustain your post-retirement expenditure. Here is an example of a 40-year-old who wants to retire in the next 10 years. The person already has 1 crore and continues to invest 50,000 every month. Now, if you account for inflation, the person corpus will be over by the time he reaches 69. If he expects to live by 80-85, he will exhaust all his savings much earlier. Not a great situation to be in. Retirement planning is difficult. Nobel Prize winner William Sharpe called retirement planning the hardest problem in finance. That's because longevity, post-tax returns, inflation are all very difficult to predict. But don't worry, those pursuing FIRE movement understand these problems. So some of them have come up with unique solutions to them. If you can't accumulate the desired early retirement corpus, here are some options you can look at. You can postpone the retirement by a few years, increase your monthly savings by reducing your expenses, else you can retire partially. Let's understand what do we mean by these. The first option is to make your post-retirement expenses less than the current expenses. You simply spend less on your post-retirement years than what you're spending now. For instance, if your annual expenses today are 12 lakh, you should aggressively cut them down to 10 lakh or 8 lakh or even less than that. Of course, this is challenging. With inflation, your expenses naturally go up, and here you are being asked to actually reduce them. Medical expenditures also tend to go up as we age, so there is another spoiler. However, some expenses may actually come down when you retire. For instance, expenses related to workplace commuting, clothing, eating out, and so on. So this can help. This form of FIRE is called lean FIRE. The opposite of lean FIRE is fat FIRE. In this, you account for higher expenditures post-retirement. Naturally, you will need to accumulate more for that. So it's even tougher than the traditional FIRE strategy. Number 2, you can front load your retirement savings. It means that in the initial years of your career, you try to earn and save aggressively. Then in your 40s or so, you settle for a less demanding job that can help you make ends meet. You don't touch the money you saved earlier and let it grow. Let's understand this with an example. Let's say there's a 25-year-old man named Aryan who lives in Bangalore and is a data scientist. His annual expenditure right now is 10 lakh. He starts investing 30,000 monthly in equity funds and increases his SIP by 15% every year. When he turns 40, he finds that his investment gave him a return of 12% per annum and he has accumulated a corpus of 3.5 crores. He decides to stop working in his stressful data scientist job and becomes a professor at a university. Even though his job pays him less and just covers for his monthly expenses, he has to work only 4-5 hours a day and gets to time spent with his kids. The corpus he has created so far stays invested and grows to 33.9 crore when he turns 60. At this age, he completely retires from active work. This corpus helps him sustain his expenses until he turns 85. This form of FIRE is called coast FIRE. It makes sense because in the initial years of one's career, when one doesn't have many responsibility, it's easier to save more. Also, one can take on more demanding roles when one is more energetic. As age increases, you can then settle in a comfortable job which may not pay you more but which helps you meet your expenses so that your existing corpus continues to grow. However, one thing goes without saying. You must avoid the temptation of withdrawing from your accumulated corpus for a big ticket expenses like buying a car, a house, or a foreign trip. Any withdrawal will break your compounding. Let's now move to the next option. Work part-time post-retirement as well. It's simple. Don't quit working altogether. Keep a part-time job or a supplemental income of some sort. This supplement income helps you meet your expenditures along with your accumulated corpus. For instance, you can give tuition or freelance or work part-time. All this will ensure that you're only partially withdrawing from your accumulated corpus. Your part-time work takes care of some of your post-retirement expenses. Of course, it would be sensible that your part-time job is meaningful and motivates you. Otherwise, you may not completely enjoy your post-retirement years. This form of fire is called barista fire. So lean fire, coast fire and barista fire are all variants of the fire movement. The FIRE movement started because someone questioned the basic art of retiring at 60 or 65. In the conventional model, you work until retirement, save a part of your income, and invest it to accumulate a corpus. Now, there is nothing wrong with it, and for most of us, this will be a way to go. However, if you would like to have more control over your time and your life, then you can explore the FIRE movement. If you do go for it, be ready to be super disciplined. You will need to make massive changes to your lifestyle. But rest assured that you will be amply rewarded. Personally, I like the idea of coast fire as I don't want to stop working. I would rather like to be financially independent, take control of my time, and continue part-time work to meet my expenses. This way, I can pursue my passion projects while giving time to my family. And with this, we have come to the end of the video. If you liked the video, do share it with your friends and family. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. I'll be back with another video very soon. Till then, take care.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.